So today I'm going to be talking with Jake, who is one of our community members and has been with us now for some considerable time. And Jake's very kindly going to share his eosinophilic journey with us. So thanks for joining us today, Jake.
You're welcome.
No, it's lovely, and your experience, I'm sure, is going to be really interesting to many other members and probably people in the public as well. So, Jake, please tell me, you're a young man. How long have you been experiencing health problems for?
Since I was 3 months old.
Since you were 3 months old. So, can you? Obviously, you don't remember. The stories have obviously come from your parents. So, what did they tell you it was like for you when you was 3 months old?
It was quite bad. I was in and out from the doctors, and then eventually I was admitted to high dependency units in children's care and intensive care, because it all started off with that I had asthma, and then they didn't know where to go from there.
Okay, and did they help resolve your problems when you was little? Did they get to the bottom answers? How did your parents say it panned out for them?
They fought in every way possible, and it came out that they tried on every medication known to asthmatics and anything they known to that was causing inflammation within my body. And no matter what they tried, it didn't work. So the only route for me was through research and studies, along with Asthma UK and all the pharmaceutical companies.
Right, and it always remained with it being asthma. Did you have any gastroenterology problems?
They said I had reflux with my gastro, and so they started me on antacids like lansoprazole and omeprazole. And from that young age of being a child all the way up until this day, I'm still taking lansoprazole. But just as I've got older, because of how long I've been on these antacids, the doses have just got higher and higher because my body's got so used to the dosage.
And did you, obviously the symptoms that you had with gastro, did they coincide with your asthma? Did they sort of just run alongside of it? Did they sort of sit in the background? How did things happen?
It always seemed like it coincided, like it always flared up with my asthma, and it was always my breathing, but also I struggled to eat my food, and I was constantly vomiting and everything else, or I'd have diarrhea. So eventually I got put onto an elimination diet when I was about 5 years old. And they still couldn't work out why, because they took away all the food groups, and I was still having reactions, but they wasn't linking the food with my asthma reactions. So they just ignored it and said I was resolved, because they thought they resolved my reflux and just let me carry on eating what I want, and told me that the only way forward was to go on steroid therapy for the rest of my life.
Wow. And have you ever been diagnosed with allergies? Is this a problem in your family? Is this something that other people experience?
So I was diagnosed with allergies. I've got allergies, environmental allergies towards grass, pollen, pretty much everything in the environment, including mold. And then they couldn't find any food groups on directly, but it's recently come back that I've got a dairy allergy, which I never knew about.
And so these from skin prick testing, because I know that there's quite a challenge with the fact with eosinophilic disease that actually you can't do a skin prick test to actually determine what the problems are that you're reacting with, because there's a big difference between the immediate allergies and obviously these slow acting responses, which they class as non-IgE. So did you have immediate allergies as well as these delayed responses? Yeah,
so I had IgE related and non-IgE mediated. But because of the infections that I was getting within my chest, they always focus within the respiratory. So by the time they treated me with my chest infections and the asthma side of things and the inflammation, the rest of the body and all the different things I was experiencing with my skin and the gut and everything else had calmed down, because they pumped so much steroids and antibiotics into my body through intravenous, like IVs, that they couldn't see any other problems. So it was always just seen, no, it's his asthma.
Right. And you mentioned your skin. So has skin been a problem for you as well in your lifetime?
All the time. I literally, from the day I was born up until now, sometimes I look like I've been put into a deep fat fryer and cooked.
Wow. So tell me, you now have a diagnosis of various different eosinophilic diseases. Would you like give us the list of what your diagnoses are now, and how long it actually took you to get those diagnoses?
So in total, I've got 14 different diagnoses on my file. The old outlook in total is hypereosinophilic syndrome, but broken down, they've put it down to severe eosinophilic asthma, eosinophilic esophagitis, severe atopic dermatitis, hypogamma anemia, something to do with my platelets, where I'm not producing enough platelets in my body.
Which you say and that's part of the hypereosinophilic syndrome. And you're also now being investigated for the lower part of your gut as well, which I know is obviously that's tricky because there isn't consensus yet globally for
exactly
eosinophilic diseases.
Yeah, so I've had a colonoscopy and I'm waiting for the biopsies, but for them to link it and start putting things together is going to be a long road. So to get to this point with all of my diagnoses so far, it's taken me from being in hospital from 3-month-old and then right up until I'm 33. But only within the last 2.5 to 3 years that I've managed to make changes with my treatment and sort of get all my doctors talking to each other and say, look, it's not just one isolated condition and it's not whole outlook. Because up until 3 years ago, it was always seen as separate conditions. So nothing was being done about it.
No, and the difference that it makes to be thought of as a whole, what difference does that make to your quality of life to be thought like that?
Massively. Before this 2 years started, I lost 10 stone within a 10-year time frame. So basically, I was losing a stone a year, even though I was eating so much food. Right. But I was constantly vomiting and having diarrhea. But with that, I've managed to get the dietitians with the gastroimmunology, and now they've put me on supplements, drinks, along with new antibiologicals. And with that combination, I'm starting to finally gain some muscle and some weight and everything else and feel a little bit normal. I can actually get out of bed most days and just go out.
Oh, that's wonderful news, Jake. And would you mind sharing with us? You've been a member of EOS Network for some considerable time now. Would you mind sharing us what sort of impact we've had on your experience of living with these diseases?
The impact you've had was amazing. My journey all started when I started basically looking into my files with you guys. You helped me get the information that I needed to take to my doctors and say, look, this medication's out there, i.e. Jorvesa, and within 2 weeks of having my gastroscopy and seeing my consultant, I was given Jorvesa, and that's all down to EOS Network. And also obviously with the net, I went on the web pages because I knew nothing about it before. I knew nothing about eosinophils or nothing. So with the information that's on your website, it gave me so much more knowledge and ammunition to learn about it and start diving deeper into my medical files, as well as looking online and like researching up and everything and talking to health professionals. Brilliant. So without EOS now, I probably won't be where I am at this stage with my medical treatment and my life now as it is now. I'd probably still be in the same situation as I was before.
Well, I'm so pleased that we've been able to have an impact for you, and we'll continue to work with you and support you in the best way we can. And I know that you're an absolute inspiration to many of our other members out there. And I really appreciate you sharing your story with us today. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.